and I mentioned earlier, briefly and jokingly, but we knew that when you headed over here to University of Virginia, that part of your plan and the way you think about enhancing the sport is by hosting championship meets that really exemplify both from a student-athlete experience, also from an event presentation standpoint. So I wondered if you might just start in talking a little bit about, what your vision behind bringing the NCAA cross-country championships here was initially, and how partnering with Panorama Farms and such an amazing course played into that.
Yeah, well, thanks everybody for showing up here today. When I first arrived here, we looked around this course and thought it might be a great place to host the national championships. And then we immediately went to the people who own the farm and said, don't you think it would be a great idea to host national championships? They said, do you think we can do it? And I said, well, I don't know. We put all the things together that would be challenges. And Steve Murray and the Murray family said, we got this. And then we had Jason Dunn in there and designing the course. And we put together some really exciting team. And we hope that all of the student athletes, the coaches, the media, the spectators, anyone that was involved in cross country 2023 will walk away from this event feeling like it was something special. So that's kind of what it's all about.
Thank you. I'll just start with a question. Mike, we heard Elise up here earlier, and she mentioned more than one time about culture and team and what it is you're doing that's so special out there. And I wondered if you could just touch on what it is you're doing that's so special out there to have a men's and women's team here and have not only the individual performances that we've seen in top contenders on both the men's and women's side, but also teams that have performed so well.
I feel like we use the word culture so often that it loses meaning. What I see is the day-to-day of these student athletes that have taken so much ownership in how they interact with each other, what they want from the sport, how they help each other. And to me, that ends up building what we call culture. There's tremendous leadership inside. I feel like it's led by athletes, only assisted by coaches versus led by coaches and assisted by athletes. And it's come a long way. And so whatever happens in these races, I feel like it's, this is really a product of our athletes leading from the standpoint of what they want from their experience to be in college athletics.
Laurie, I was a D1 athlete and consider it a privilege for the women who train under you to have the opportunity to model and be coached by a strong woman at the very highest level. And I wondered if you would just say a couple words about what you think you are able to bring to the team dynamic, the training dynamic, the individual interactions you have with the women on your team, with the perspective that you have from women's athletics.
Yeah, thanks. My high school coach was the matron of honor at my wedding, and she is my daughter Ellie's godmother. And so I think it's something that has always, it was not actually what I planned to do, but it's something that is possible. But I think that that's something that has always been important to me. It was a huge part of my life to have strong female coaches, and I did every sport. Was lucky enough to have that at a lot of levels. So, and I think there's also the added part for me of also being a parent. So, with an athlete, with one child who does like athletics, one who completely hates it. But, so I think just having all of those experiences is definitely helpful. I mean, I came up in college without a female coach, and that works well too. But I think it is. I think they appreciate that I have run at a high level and been in their shoes, and so it is helpful. Some of the things that they're going through to have a female coach at the highest level.
Thank you. Dave, I won't ask you.
Okay, don't ask it.
No, I just want, you and your programs have been so consistently performing throughout the years. I think we're accustomed to seeing someone in bright orange at the front of packs, whether it's as individuals or as teams. And I wondered if you talk a little bit just about that consistency, about building a program over time, the patience that it takes when maybe it's not all coming together, but the confidence that you have in knowing that you have a system in place that you can wrap it all up when it counts.
Yeah, I think kind of just echoing what's already been said, I think it comes down to individual athletes and kind of their perspective and their dreams and prioritizing them. And I think when athletes feel supported and empowered and are given ownership over their own careers and get to make some of their own decisions, I think that's very powerful. The program is a collection of individuals. It's the individuals that make the program. I think it's not the opposite. And so at times we've had a really good group of individuals. Other times, not so much. I think right now we're on one of those waves where we've got a really good group of people that support each other, are excited for each other, definitely challenge each other. We got a bunch of men and women that want to run the race here. We have 10 of each that want to run, and they're all hoping they're the ones that get tapped, and 3 of them aren't going to. And I know there's going to be some disappointment, but it'll take 30, 60 seconds, something like that, and they'll be right back out there cheering on their teammates. So, I think I answered your question. I'm going to keep rambling if I keep going, so I'll stop.
I will open the floor up to the media. Please remember to state the outlet that you're with and speak up so we can hear you both in the room and on the webcast.
Jonathan Gola here from Let'sRun.com. Question for Vin. This meet has been billed as a sellout. I was wondering, could you explain how a cross-country meet sells out and what's the limiting factor preventing getting more fans on the course?
Yeah, that's a great question. Probably about a year ago, we started to think about what would be the ideal capacity here at Panorama Farms, and we then made our plans accordingly. So we anticipated that we'd be able to shuttle with almost 50 buses the number of people who would come here who are spectators, and we had the other 2,000 people who were here, for instance, all of those, of the student athletes, the coaches, etc. And we feel like we could probably, on this farm, we could probably handle somewhere between 6,500 and 7,000, and for everybody to have a great experience. I think it's the greatest thing in the world. This meeting is sold out.
Is there anything specific that, why it wouldn't be able to handle more?
There's just a whole group, a committee that got together and tried to figure out what would a meet look like that was here. The most we've had here before is about 1,200. So we think that this is the right capacity for people to have a great experience.
Next.
Donnie Speeds from the Stride Courts for Coach Dave Smith there. So, also last year, you guys hosted NCAA in your home course. I'm assuming you got a chance to see the course up here. What do you say is the biggest difference between those two courses?
They're very similar, I think. I think our guys got here and we're excited to see this course. First of all, it's a beautiful place. I don't know if we've been in a more beautiful setting for a cross-country meet than this one, so that's awesome. I think, I personally love running in beautiful places, and I'm sure the athletes are excited by that. The course is really challenging. It's fair, it's wide, there's long straightaways for passing, moving. I think there's a lot of similarities. Ours is obviously a manicure irrigated. That's a little different. Some people think that's not real cross country. It's too manicured. Some people think this is more cross country. It's a little bit more, old school. Either way, they're two great courses. I think, we're kind of getting spoiled now with really good courses, really good venues, and this is certainly another one.
Yeah, Corey Mullock, Flow Track Monthly. I have a question for you, Dave. You talked about selecting 7 men on the day. You have 10 here.
Yeah.
That's hard for a coach, obviously, to determine who gets the run.
Yeah.
What's kind of your process, or what goes into determining basically who goes in?
Everything from spreadsheets to dartboards, and it's just been, every time I get my mind made up and then I try to convince my assistants I'm right, and they'll argue against me, and they'll convince me. I'll walk out of the room thinking, okay, I'm gonna go with them. They'll call me and say, okay, you were right. We should do what you want to do. And so we've gone back and forth, and honestly, I've got 4 guys I know I'm running, and I've got 1 guy I know I'm not running. So I've got 5 guys for 3 spots. And each one of those 5 guys at some point in this year has given me indication they can be top 30 this week. And each one of those guys has also looked like they're gonna be 230. And so it's trying to figure out which of those guys we run and which of those guys we don't, and kind of reading body language. It's hard, kind of hearing the things they say and the tone of their voices. Maybe we start getting too I don't know. It's a hard process. We're gonna at some point have to make a call. I think we get to 20 minutes before race time. I've been pushing for 10, but Jeff Malinsky won't let me do that. So at 19 minutes and 30 seconds, we'll be making a decision.
Next question.
Yeah, question for Mike. A lot of the athletes who are key contributors in your team right now are in their first year in the program. Many of them transferred in. How did that team come together with assembling the roster, and also why do you think they've been able to thrive so well in their first fall in Flagstaff?
Yeah, the transfer portal has changed a lot of things in college athletics. Many coaches spoke about the unintended consequences of decisions like this, and now we are experiencing them. But you've got rosters that can change, in the blink of an eye. Our team has been the beneficiary of the transfer portal, both our men's and women's side, the last few years, and we've had nothing but positive experiences. What I like about it is you're bringing in seasoned veterans that bring their own style and experience from other programs. We talk a lot about the different chapters of people's running careers. Now it's possible to have multiple chapters in the NCAA. Your college running isn't just one chapter. We're fortunate that our athletes come from places where they've been coached really, really well. They've had strong cultures. They've got a lot of experience, and so it diversifies and amplifies, what we bring to the table at NAU. They've made us better as much as we've made them better, not just from a performance standpoint, but from their past experiences as well.
This is John from City of Smeg. Question for Mike Smith. So the women's program has been up and coming the past few years. It has reached the same level as the men's program. I'm curious what's helped bridge the gap between those two and make them both podium teams at NCAA.
Well, I think for years at Northern Arizona, our men's program competing at such a high level has shown what's possible there, and there's just no reason that we've got a men's team doing this and not a women's team. And it's taken us a while to get there. We've been kind of clawing and scratching our way. I think it takes, one push to maybe get into the top 10 or 15, but man, there's this whole other push to kind of get into that top 5 or podium position. But I think we've always seen that it's possible. We train in the best place on earth. We've got everything available for our women's program to take advantage of. We just needed people to buy onto that dream. And the folks that helped us get there, the names you all will never know, they know who they are, and they're so much a part of what we're doing right now. It's taken a while, but we finally got them in a place where I think they'll stay for a long time.
Kyle Rivers, City of Smag. How many points do you think it's going to take to win tomorrow? Last year, 83 was enough for first and second. What are we adding up now on the men's side?
One less than NAU.
And then also, Coach Henes as well on the women's side. It was 114 last year. What are you calculating is necessary?
We don't really try to go through and calculate a specific number. I can't imagine that 114 would win the NCAA title on the women's side this year. It would definitely be under 100 points, I would think, and probably well under.
I think 75. Somewhere in that range. Right?
Put 75.
So 74.
I'm Carrie Tellefson with ESPN. Laurie, we had a big blow this morning with Kelsey having to come out. So can you talk a little bit about that and how the dynamic is on the team going into tomorrow?
Yeah, our returners, have been here together since 2019. A lot of them. We have, I think, 5 women here who started at NC State in 2019 or 2020 together. And so, there's no way around it. This was a tough 5 or 6 days and she did everything she could to be able to line up. As I've said, it's something she will be able to come back from. It's not surgical. It's not an actual fracture. We had 2 or 3 different doctors look at it, and the amount of swelling in there she's just not going to be able to run on it. I think though these women have pulled together so much in the past. They care about each other so much that they want to run for her, but also her being here And the way she has approached this is just and what you would expect from Kelsey. But I said it before, and I've gotten texts from most of the women's coaches, top coaches in the country right now. Everybody loves Kelsey. She's a 13-time All-American. She's about the most consistent person in the NCAA. So to have that be, the last 10 days of her career, but she's not going to dwell on it that way. She's here for her teammates, and she'll be back.
Question for all of the coaches. This course is interesting in that it's not flat, but it's also like kind of slanted in some